Good morning, Villa Duchesne.
And thank you for tuning in to Tower News Network's first ever live panel discussion.
As many of you know, there has been confusion limited not only to students, but administrators as well in Villa Duchesne.
So today in our panel, we're going to take a chance to talk about some of these issues, to see from a student perspective as well as an administrative perspective, to see where the miscommunication really lies.
So we're going to jump right into it. Our first topic is sex ed. We were wondering, as the discussion panel, whether the students felt the same way, that they need a required health class. A health class with nutrition, sexual education, but just kind of everything. You know, what do you guys think about this?
You know, I think at our age, we have totally lacked that here. I think, you know, we're all going into college, and me personally, I think that is something I'm going to go to college much less informed than the students I'm going to be with. And
it's so relevant.
It's so relevant, and I think the students here are mature enough to handle that. Years ago, I think we would have been mature enough to handle that, and even to prepare us for the end of high school. I mean, there's decisions that I'm sure all of us have been faced with that we weren't prepared for, and I think that is something that should totally be required.
But at what age? I mean, that's the question.
I think that definitely 16 is a good age. That's when we're starting to drive, we're starting to go out more, and we're getting our freedom, we're getting away from our parents. And I know that the only sex ed I've had here at Villa Duchesne in my 6 years was a week in 8th grade where we're learning about the basics, like don't drink, this is what happens if you drink.
And
but there's
so
much more we
in
can
8th
learn.
grade, people are squirmish, they're not. You know, you're right, middle of high school is an excellent time.
Yeah. Yeah, like I'm 18 years old and I'm going off to a public university next year where kids are probably all have had the experience with these classes before, and I feel like professors will be talking about this kind of stuff, and it'll be like a shock to hear that kind of. I feel like it'd really be beneficial for all of us.
And you know, I think Villa has prepared us so well in so many other aspects. I mean, in all aspects of education. I mean, we're so prepared. So it's like, and with that, I think we have been matured through the 5 goals and everything else that Villa proposes. I think we have really been groomed to a point where we can handle it.
And there's no reason why, you know, these classes can't be consistent with everything else we've learned at Villa. So 80% of the students in a random poll agreed with us and thought that there should be a required health class. So here's what our administrators have to say about it, and I think they were pretty much on the same page as well.
I guess I would throw the question back to seniors and say, where would you think is the best time? Leave it all the way to the senior year? Or would it be better to be tucked into, say, a sophomore year?
Junior year,
Junior year. I think senior year is a little bit late, to be honest. Some of the behaviors that I've been picking up on, you know, after prom parties and so on, I think the conversation needs to be happening much earlier than the senior year.
Oh, I think that's fabulous. I would definitely talk to Sister Collins as principal, because Sister Collins is the curricular leader for the high school at 7th through 12th grade, more than high school, all of Villa Duchesne. But we're certainly open to that. We have worked, Mr. Boyle is the phys ed PE department chair, and he's very interested in issues of health and wellness from JK 3 through 12. We've had some good conversations that are just starting.
I think that at every level there should be some talk, either through health, PE, science, something, and to prepare you, not just throw it at you senior year. There's always, everyone has an opinion, so there might be parents who aren't interested in it for their child, and I think in the past, when we've had it, parents opted in or out for their child. I don't think it's a bad idea.
So welcome back to Tower News Network's discussion panel. So now we're going to talk about Kairos. Maybe more affects seniors than other people, but how do we manage workload, especially with like APs and other classes, when we have this God's appointed time? How do teachers, how should they handle that?
You know, it's so hard with retreats because you really do want to disconnect yourself from everything, and that includes school. But for the AP teachers, they have that responsibility. We have to cover this material in this amount of time, and I understand the conflict there, but my attitude is, you know, do what you think is appropriate, but for the most part, Kairos needs to be disconnected.
You know, my take on it is more the inconsistency is the issue. I mean, if work needs to be done and classes need to be taught, then they do. I mean, it's school. We have a certain number of days, a certain amount of material that needs to be taught. But with that said, I do think there's so much inconsistency, and you get told from here that like it's no work, focus on God. You get told from here like your classes can't stop, you go to college prep school. So it's the confusion I think that students are facing is what to believe. And what
See,
to
it was hard for me because I went on the last Kairos and like the day we came back, I had a test and I had some homework to do, which I mean I had the weekend to do like to study
Well,
for
you're
that.
recovering. I mean, Kairos is exhausting and it's emotionally. It takes you out a lot.
Yes.
So, you know, I think another option could be there's a fall Kairos and a spring Kairos. Why can't teachers do like a short unit perhaps that they could switch around, you know? So they cover one topic with the fall Kairos and then when they come back in spring, they cover that same material. There's another
I
option.
think that is an excellent idea because also that way that's something that is different from the regular curriculum, breaks things up.
Exactly.
And that's just something that we could all benefit from. And that way there's not a massive amount of work that you would have to make up, because I know that it wasn't so much the problem that I had work, it was the amount of work, because you do miss 3 school days and that is a lot, but also you have to pay your full attention to Kairos. You're not even allowed to bring homework with you. So it's the amount that really is what we're struggling with.
Exactly. So here's what some other people in the Villa community had to say about this topic.
Well, I have a few opinions about that. I think that there is a happy medium as with everything. And I also, when I did teach and had kids on Kairos, I would do a standalone unit that I could do at both ends of the year. I'm not positive how that will work with APs, but I'm wondering if it couldn't be a review time. That's just a thought. I don't know if that would work. I do know that the teachers have been asked to be aware that while on Kairos, the students are supposed to focus on their spirituality and their relationship with God, and not to give so much overload of work that they would be studying after the retreat was over in the evening and up all night doing work. So
We're back and we are talking. Kairos is something that affects every senior, and on Stuco we have 6 seniors who are a member of that. And we were wondering, well, they aren't exempt from the workload. Have they tried to bring this problem up before? What authority does Stuco actually have in bringing up change within our school?
You know, that's what I was thinking. I mean, it's a difficult situation because I know there's only so much that a student committee can really do in a
Especially
school.
with huge financial issues. We're not asking for major involvement. I think that.
But I think over just the student decisions that really just affect students. I mean, one example is field day shirts. I mean, it's not so much that we're so angry that we have to not break the short tradition of making our own field day shirts. It's just the, like, why and who made this decision. And obviously Stuco didn't play a huge role in this decision because we know Stuco would love it.
And when I talked to Miss Miller about this, she was like, I did not even know this was a problem. And how would they know it's a problem? You know what I mean? It's up to us as well to ask for that communication, but it's a 2-way street, you know?
Yeah, and of course I know, for example, with Priority Stuco, when it comes to something like field day t-shirts or dance themes, that is entirely left up to the students' hands.
Right.
It's not any administration involvement in that because it's something that affects the students and their experience at school, and that is something that they are allowed to decide.
It's the memorable things. It really is.
I feel like there could be a way that we can involve the students and like the student council to really the student council should be that stepping block between administration and student. Like they should be that connection.
That's true.
You know, I think one issue that was obviously a big topic this year was Kanjé, because obviously that's normally a Stuco planned event, and from certain Stuco members I've spoke to this year, they had significantly less involvement. And I think one reason was because, you know, the school is wanting to connect the older school and the younger school, which I totally get. I mean, I love doing things with the younger school. I think that's really awesome and builds community.
But we need that explanation. I mean, how are we even going to know that's the reason why we have Kanjé with Oak Hill if we don't, you know?
And I just think it's those little things that, you know, they do build up with the students because they feel like they have these just controlling factors and never getting an explanation.
Yeah, and we have 2 interviews actually from Emily Fuse, who is a senior Stuco member, and Lexi Collins, who came from another school. So let's hear their take on things.
I'm Lexi Collins, and I'm a sophomore at Villa, and I came from Clayton High School last year, and I noticed a lot of differences in the Stuco per se. Like at Clayton, Stuco sits in on like the faculty meetings, and they have like teacher advisors that like speak for them, or like teachers that they go directly to if they have like a problem on hand that like they need to be that they need to be addressed. And then also the Stuco at Clayton has a lot more power per se than here at Villa.
I think the one suggestion I could make to enhance the relationship between the students and the decision makers of the school would be to maybe have Stuco members present at these meetings so that they can give input on the students' feelings and opinions on the matters.
You know, I mean, I think it really all comes back to just the lack of communication from both sides of the students and the administration. From our poll, we heard back that 100 randomly selected students rated their relationship with the administration as a 3 out of 10.
That's shocking.
I mean, though that number needs to raise. If we want to get any fluency and any consistency between the relationship, it's just got to raise.
Especially with the comparison, you know, between that score and then the score for teachers. Students rated the communication between teachers and themselves as a 7 out of 10, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, a 7 out of 10 versus 3 out of 10, there's room for improvement and a lot of improvement.
Definitely, because we are one community. This is something we emphasize all the time, and students need to be able to feel comfortable having a communication with the administration, being able to talk to them and bring up important problems. Of course, obviously, sometimes it is hard to get in contact with Ms. Miller on account that she has so many things to do, and she's doing a good job running our school and keeping it all going. But also, we can talk to Sister Collins. She's always there for us. And Ms. Richardson is always open to hearing students' ideas and bringing up their ideas.
The first year being a principal in a school like Villa just takes an enormous amount of energy. I've found, particularly as I moved into the year, I've had to spend a great deal more time just getting to know even the adult community. Parents have wanted to speak with me, and so some of the time I'd hoped I'd have for students has been much more limited than I would like. But yes, I think the progress next year, unfortunately that's not much good for seniors, but I think next year certainly when most of you know me a little better and I know some of you a little better, it'll be much more give and take situation.
I think it depends what the issue is and what concerns. Like let's say if we were talking about selecting a new lunchroom vendor, which we would not get rid of Mr. George, we think he's awesome. But let's say it was an issue like that, we would certainly have students involved in the process, not just surveying you all, but have some people. Sort of like next year we have Chicago, which is Sacred Heart Commission on Goals, and 2 current juniors will serve right there with the trustee, with faculty, with staff, because you can't plan things for the future of the school without student voice.
Very often.
No, exactly.
Which works great, is that people come to student council meetings. So I'm not sure you're aware that George will come and work with the students on food service, ideas, opinions, things coming down new that might be interesting, or if they would like that. Mr. Miller has come to them, he's the new head of maintenance, talking to them about the new food, the way they can buy food after school in the big machines in the large dining room. He asked their opinion. They were able to do a taste test. And very often they're asked their opinion on things like honor council, what's going on in the school. And so they haven't not had a connection, but there are always more ways to improve that connection.
Thank you so much for tuning in to TNN's first ever seminar discussion. And we would like to thank everyone who gave their time to let us know their thoughts and speak to us and who we interviewed.
I'm Ellie Swanstrom.
I'm Catherine Hennessy.
I'm Caroline Edwards.
And I'm Amy Hagnauer.
And this is Tower News Network.